Okay, hey guys, I think we're live. There we go. Hey, it is August 16th, Thursday, and we're in episode 217 of the TED Show today with Bess Auer. Bess Auer, welcome.
Hi guys.
So give us a thumbs up, let us know you can hear us or see us. We had some technical difficulties earlier. My poor little guy, I'm gonna move my face a little bit.
Yeah. I'll scoot towards you.
There you go. Oh, we're going to show some love. All right. So, hey, Boston, Dave, what's up? Good to see you on the show. Hey, Chaco, what's happening? Give us a thumbs up and some love. So I want to make sure when Bess talks, you guys hear it. I don't know if you know the story behind that, but I did a show once, 30 minutes, and nobody could hear it. Tyler, what's up, buddy?
It happens.
It happens. All right. So we're good. So we got lots of love, lots of thumbs up. So welcome. We got introduced by somebody, correct?
We did.
And you're going to refresh my memory because I just forgot who introduced us. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Let me think.
There it is. We're a pair today, let me tell you. We were just talking about memory and what happens as you get older. It's some craziness. Anyway, some wonderful, lovely person said, you've got to meet Bess. She does this podcast. She does a radio show. She's a blogger. She's a smart marketer. She's incredible. And I said, well, of course, anybody you say, I want them to come on the show. And so I looked her up, and sure enough, she's all of those things plus more. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I am very excited to have you. So give us a little background on you. Tell me about you. I know a little bit of the story, but, you know, it's good for them to kind of know what you are all about and how you got to where you're at.
So I was a classroom teacher, taught English, middle school English for 17 years. Writing was always my first love. And fortunately, there's a wonderful thing called blogging that kind of evolved throughout my teaching career and fell into blogging. The Central Florida Top 5 was actually my first blog. And it was an events blog, kind of talking about the stuff happening around Orlando.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, my husband is a swim coach.
Oh, he is? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he coaches club swimming, Ryan Lochte, Michael Phelps, that type of swimming.
That's a big commitment.
It is. And my son, growing up, was a swimmer. I was by the pool. Have you ever been to a swim meet?
Once, maybe. It's hot.
They are, I can't say that.
You can say whatever you want.
Gosh, awful. They are horrible. You're only there to watch your kid. You're only there to watch them for the 30 seconds it takes them to swim there and back,
right.
And then you're sitting there for the whole day. So I'm sitting there telling my husband, I've got to do something. I'm going crazy. I don't want to sit with the parents gossiping about the other kids and stuff. What can I do? So
you didn't want to be the traditional swim mom.
No. So he said, well, why don't you try? And this is how long ago it was. Webcasting. It wasn't even live streaming.
I forgot the name
then.
webcasting.
Webcasting.
Wow. Webcasting.
Yeah, on Justin TV or Jason TV or one of those. And so I said, sure, let's try it. So we went to Best Buy, got this little eyeball camera.
I remember the eyeball camera.
And we went down to the iDrive Y, and Ryan Lochte happened to be swimming that meet.
Nice.
And my husband said, hey, can Bess sit, and we're going to webcast this. And the meet director said, sure, we don't know what that is, but go ahead. So I
now
sat
they would
down.
say no, probably.
So I sat down, we put the eyeball on top of the speaker that the announcer was talking at.
Crazy.
So anytime he talked, it shook. It was the worst live stream ever. But
it was a new technology then.
everybody on the deck was saying, hey, what's Bess doing? Well, she's webcasting it. And so they're all texting their brothers, sisters, relatives to tune in. We had over 300 viewers of that first meet where you could not even see anybody. So we said,
see,
we've got something
That's
here.
something. There's
So,
power in it, right?
There is.
People
So-
are saying hi to you, by the way.
Hi guys.
Hi guys.
I don't have my glasses
Thanks
on.
for the comments. Thank you for it's probably blurple. You're right. Hi guys, what's happening? Boston Dave. Yep, it's a Robert Graham. You're
So
right.
if I have my glasses on, I'd be able to
I have
see
contacts
better.
in. It's not like I can really see anything.
So Florida Swim Network was born, and that actually became my main job. So I ended up selling Central Florida Top 5, and we did swimming. And
So did you webcast at every meet?
We did. We focused on age group swim meets in the state of Florida. That was our sweet spot. But fortunately, Florida is such a great state for swimming. A lot of swimmers here. And a lot of transient families, meaning they have family in Wisconsin or in
Oh,
California.
sure. So they could watch the meet then. Oh, yeah. That's smart. I get it.
Yeah.
You're ahead of your time.
Yeah, so we ended up live streaming, and the colleges took notice. So University of Florida hired us to come
Go
live
Gators.
stream their swim meets, and then we got picked up by ESPN, so we were the crew for
Wow, I didn't realize I was with a
ESPN.
famous person.
Well, it's funny because diving is part of college of swimming, and none of us knew diving, so I was the one that usually commentated it, and it was so, it was
I
like
can't even
making
imagine.
up.
Yeah, I'd have to make it up. That's a pretty dive. Well, she hit the water hard.
Well, when you see the score, suddenly it was a lot easier with like, oh, the judges didn't like that one.
Got to think on your feet when you're
yeah.
doing anything live or webcasting or anything. You just have to go with the flow.
So we jumped in both feet, live streaming. I love live. I love that you're doing live here. And then as far as blogging, I started the Florida Blogger and Social Media Conference back in 2011.
So how do you? What was your idea behind that? So you obviously have the talent. You've got an English degree. You love to write. But most people have the degree and might like to write on their own, but you made it into a business, into your career, basically.
Well, it was
After teaching.
part luck and part filling a need. So when I started the Central Florida Top 5, there were only a few blogs. Mark Baratelli of the Daily City, we had Kim Strangle and Ashley Edwards at the Pulse of Central Florida. There were only a few of us. And there were no blogging conferences. There was no place to really learn the craft and how to turn it into a business.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people think we were talking about this earlier. A lot of people think they're bloggers, right? So, and they want to do it, but then they either run out of ideas or they don't know how to do it in a way that is marketable.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about the conference, but what kind of advice, I think, when I was promoting the show earlier, I think people want to do something like that because a lot of people don't like cameras, so blogging is much better for them. I always say I have a face for radio.
No.
That's a joke, you know. What can you tell? Can you give them some tips? Like if somebody says, "Here's my blog, Bess," obviously you're going to give them a true and accurate response to how it is and what it looks like. But what kind of pointers can you give them?
Yeah, so first of all, I think you should have a blog. If you don't, you need to start one because there's several reasons.
See?
Yep. If you're a small business owner, you have this great website talking about your products or your services. It's very hard to get people to actually come to your website to see your products or services. You can have it fully maximized for SEO, which means search engine optimization. There's all these things that you can hire somebody to do on the back end. But it's still not really going to be driving traffic to that website. You need to have people see what your products and services are. And how a blog helps you do that. So if you have a website that sells garden hoses, and I'm thinking of Amazon Rubber, I think there's one near Princeton that sells.
Yes.
Okay. So if you sell garden hoses, well, if you write a blog post about, the top 5 gardening tips, people who are interested in gardening would like to know your top tips. You put it on your website blog, and then you put that on Facebook, you tweet it out, and then somebody who's interested in gardening is going to click to come to your website to read those tips, and then they're saying, what is this gardening hose? And then they are actually on your website, they're a captive audience, and you're finding qualified leads because you're posting stuff they're interested in.
So do you find so SEO, that's always, for me, that's always been a hit or miss concept. I know there are companies that are out there that swear by it, but I don't necessarily have to be in the top 10 or 20. That doesn't matter if that's what you first come up with, if they don't click on the button. So you have to be able to drive them, which is what Bess is saying, to click on the button. And the only way to really do that is content.
Right, yeah. And so that content then, they aren't finding you on Google. Instead, they're finding it because a friend posted an article by you on Facebook and they thought it was interesting, and so they click on it and go to your website. Or on Twitter, somebody has retweeted it. And so there's all sorts of ways, and it's called word of mouth advertising,
Right.
which you probably realize is one of the best
It's
out
so
there.
powerful. That's what happens because blogging or vlogging, which that's what Bess said I do, vlogging, it's true, video blogging.
Yep.
The best thing is when somebody comes on, like hi Kim, by the way, hi Kim Kephart. The best thing is when somebody comes on because they're going to talk about or they're going to share or they're going to comment, and so that gets their people interested in it. And you're not that I want any SEO people to go out of business, but for me, the word of mouth is much more powerful.
Yeah, and and it's two different models of bringing traffic to your site. One is with the search engine optimization, other is through organic or content. And really you want to do both. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. You want to have both working for you.
Right.
The final reason for having a blog is it does help with your SEO. You're putting all sorts of great keywords. Our gardening example, they're talking about watering, they're talking about hoses, they're talking about plants, seasonal gardening, and so they're hitting all their keywords in a very natural way that helps their SEO. And then, you know what, if you have a website that doesn't change, meaning there's no new content added, Google is going to stop crawling it.
I think people don't understand that.
Yeah, so Google likes active content. So if you have a dynamic website that new content's being added to, every time you make a change in your website, I don't know how it does it. Automatically, it sends a signal to Google. Automatically, it's a real word in my world, to send what we call spider bots to come crawl and index your website.
Right.
So if you don't add new content, they're going to stop crawling your website, and therefore your SEO sinks. So that's the other great reason.
And I think that people, what do you say to people who believe they've got a great product and an idea, and maybe they think they can write, but they don't know how to do it on a regular basis because it takes a commitment.
It does.
So once you start it, it's not like 3 days later you can't do it anymore, you can't come up with any ideas. Should people strategically plan out how their blog is going to be? What are some of those tips you might be able to give them?
So a lot of bloggers or content creators, we have moved from just writing long form text. Bloggers are now vloggers. They do podcasts, they create video, they do photos, they do all sorts of things. So we call them content creators. So if you're not a writer, or if you are a writer but don't have time to do it, do what Ted does. Be a vlogger. I mean, it's a great way to do it. We have photo bloggers who do photo of the day. We have people that do graphic design, will create infographics. There's all sorts of websites that allow you to create some really great infographics. So you just want to create content that's interesting for people to look at.
Yes.
Now, there are people that do editorial calendars that will plan out by the week, by the month, by the year, what they're going to be writing about. For example, we have, October is coming up somewhere on the horizon, so lots of fall recipes, Halloween, the fall harvest type things, so lots of great recipes for that. Football season is starting, back to school is starting, so a lot of people do plan out based on a calendar.
Sure.
It's really whatever works for you.
And what do you think about people who say, I want to have a blog, but I'm going to hire somebody to do it?
Go for it.
Okay, so
you're employing somebody.
Correct. And so you might have the ideas, you share them with the person who's the professional writer or blogger, and that's a positive thing. I think people, they're not sure what to do about that. I've heard people say that it's not mine, Ted. I'm like, yeah, but it's your idea, and somebody's just putting it into words for you. Yeah. We do this for people all the time, so why should that be an issue? And why stop yourself from having a blog or new content just because you don't want somebody else to be doing the writing? I mean, there's also ghostwriters out there. I know you guys don't believe me, but it's true. Yeah. So some of those books that you read and love, somebody wrote those that is not the author, I'm 100% sure, especially the celebrity ones. So what do you talk about the conference a little bit?
So
is it for beginners? Can beginners come?
Beginners through professional bloggers. So I run the Florida Blogger and Social Media Conference. This is our 8th annual. So 8 years ago, when I was just first starting out, I wanted to learn how to monetize. I wanted to learn about SEO and everything else. And I couldn't afford to go to a big conference in a different city. So I went around to the bloggers here that I knew were actually doing it. And I said, if we put on a conference, will you come share what you know? And everybody was so gracious. They said, absolutely. And so we had our first blogging conference. We had, I think, 15 speakers with 15 different sessions, and everybody was sharing what worked. And we had fashion bloggers, we had event bloggers,
That's
we
cool.
had Visit Florida was sharing what they were doing with Twitter. And so we had a lot of different people sharing what was working. And it worked as a conference. So we've continued doing that. This year it's going to be September 29th. It's always on a Saturday because most bloggers have a day job.
That's right. So I think a lot of people don't realize that. So when you say you're a blogger, that means you're probably blogging, but you have a job you have to go to daytime or nighttime.
Right, and so we don't want them to miss work. So we have it on a Saturday. It's all day long, and it feels like a big time conference, but it's really still a very intimate affair. We limit the attendance at 350. But we have bloggers and marketing and PR reps and people that are curious about blogging. We have startups there that want to learn how to market their new startup. We have realtors that come to learn how to use social media to market their properties.
Realtors, so there's a whole bunch of realtors who are on, by the way, watching. And I'm sure that that's why, because that's a big topic right now. We'll take real estate for a minute because that's what I'm in my other life. But they're being told, you need to get out there. You need to get the content out. Those newsletters, which we've all gotten, where the same office sends a newsletter and they just change the realtor's name on it, and you just want to scream after the 8th newsletter that says Happy Halloween. They realize that there's power in changing that and doing their own blogging and content, but because of the way they are, they're normally salespeople. But they want to create the content, and that's why I brought up the part about hiring someone, because I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But that's why you have realtors who are watching, because I think they really want to do more creative content, but don't know how to get into it. Hi, Rebecca. Speaking of a realtor.
Hi, Rebecca.
So I think that's what's powerful in what you're doing, is that everybody knows there's a need. They just don't know how to get to it. So if, let's say it's one of the realtors and they have absolutely no experience, can they sign up to be on the conference if they haven't done anything yet?
Yeah, so we have realtors come every year, and so if you come, so our opening keynote this year is kind of a general inspire, motivate type of thing, and then we have actual breakout sessions. So one of our sessions is about how to monetize your blog or website in all different models, from working with brands to doing sponsored content to selling books or even having drop shipping items on your website. The next one is all about social media. We're having Chef Dennis Litley talking about Twitter and making Twitter great again. He has rediscovered how powerful Twitter can be.
It's very powerful.
Yeah,
We've forgotten about it a little bit. But if you use it correctly, that's a whole nother topic. I'm excited about the show. So as you're describing it, I'm thinking, God, I would love to go and listen. I will 100%.
Yeah.
September 29th.
September 29th. And then we have a track that's all about creating content. So if you're using photos to tell your story, how are you going to do that effectively? If you don't know how to create content, we have Dinah Griffith, who is actually going to be having some templates that you can use to start creating your content and using that as a blueprint for it. And then our final one is all for PR and marketing reps, so they can learn how to work with online influencers, how to hire a blogger if they are not bloggers themselves. And so that's...
if you think about it, so a lot of, you're talking about PR people especially, if you can add blogging as an added value to the clients that you're representing, that's sort of like when I take advertisers on the show, people who want to be part of the show. I never charge a guest, by the way. I've had that question asked a lot lately. I don't charge guests. But we have advertisers who want to come on the show. The main reason they want it is because they don't know how to do this or create it, or they have no interest, or they're afraid of it. And so it's so much easier to piggyback on somebody who has already established it at 200 plus shows, or already has an 8-year conference on blogging. You want to piggyback on that. So I want to encourage you guys not to be afraid to get into the blogging world or the vlogging world, because it's not as scary as you think. If I can come on every day, a couple times a day, and put my mug on Facebook Live, you guys can write, or you can find somebody who should write. So what should somebody look for who doesn't want to do their own but wants to hire a blogger?
So bloggers themselves, so if they are not, so there are ones who are just hobbyists. We call them hobbyists that have a passion and they blog about parenting or gardening or some hobby. And then there are those that are professional bloggers that have taken the steps to become full-time bloggers, monetize their blog. They're foodies. They do lots of different content on a specific subject to where they now are professional bloggers, and that's their full-time job. But a lot of them also then do what we call ghost blogging, or they're virtual assistants to help out people. And so if you want to hire one of those, there are many available, but there are a few things. So I always tell this story. Back when I first started doing sponsored content, Chevrolet was one of my first big clients. Chevrolet hired me to do a program called Girls on the Go. And they gave us a car for a month, which was great. We got
That's
to drive
cool.
around a Camaro or a Chevy Traverse, and we were supposed to make videos and write about it and create content for it. And at that time, blogging was not as mainstream as it is, so they didn't have quite as many bloggers to choose from. I probably won't be chosen today. Back then, I was one of the few. And one of the bloggers they chose in the Orlando area, they really didn't do their homework, because her whole brand was very brash. She used a lot of foul language in her. It was just part of her
This
shtick.
is good, yeah.
And had they realized that, they probably would not have chosen her, because that then reflected on the brand, the type of language.
100%.
They could not take her blog post and put it on the Chevy website because of the language in it.
Wow, that's
So you want to take your time, and first, if you're considering a blogger, look at their content. Do they create videos you like? Do they follow guidelines that you would want them to follow? And it's okay if they don't in their personal brand, but if you are going to hire them, you want to lay out those types of guidelines.
Yes, you want to lay it out for them, because I think what happens too, I have people who want me to buy, they want to do marketing for me, or they want to help me with my social media. So I always listen, but the first thing I do is I go check out their website, and if they have their social media, if they have like 300 people who are their friends and have 2 likes on all their posts, that's probably not the person you want. So what Bess is saying, I agree with. You want to do your research to make sure that they have this, that they can at least talk and communicate in a way that you would be comfortable with.
Well, one of the biggest questions I always get from brands is, how do we know if a blogger is really good or not? And the first thing, look at their site, look at their content. But you brought up a very interesting point. In the social media age, and it's been in the news a lot, where people can buy fans.
Oh yes.
You can go to Fiverr.com. There are companies that sell fake likes. So they may have 50,000 fans or followers on Instagram, but how many of them are real people that are actually interested in their content? And so you did exactly right. You look at the engagement. How many, if they have 100,000 fans on Facebook, but only 2 likes per post,
something's not right there,
something's
people.
not right. So you want to make sure it's proportional to the number of fans.
Do your research. And Jose just asked a question. Hey,
Sure.
Jose. He wanted to know, do you know of anyone who you can hire for blogging in Spanish?
You know what? Florida is a great state for that, because we have so many bilingual bloggers. Yeah, there are bloggers that blog both Spanish and English, and they are for hire, absolutely.
Is there a centralized
Wouldn't that be
bloggersforhire.com? Kind of like, I think a lot of people go to Fiverr. You mentioned that, right? So
Yeah.
Fiverr's been good for a couple of logo things I've wanted to do, and it really is inexpensive for what you get, but you know what you're getting there. But I'm not sure if that's a blog community, but if somebody wants to do the research on that, is there a place to go?
So there are a couple. So there really isn't, because so many bloggers they're so organically homegrown. It's moms getting together sharing ideas. It's soccer coaches, or in my case, it was swim coaches getting together, swim teams. So really, there's not one big central database, but there are a lot of blogging groups. And so, for example, one that's actually brand new to Orlando, I'll give them a shout out right now, and it's the Orlando Bloggers, and they're part of a growing group called the Blogger Union. So if you go to the bloggerunion.com, I believe it is, it might be .org, but .com, they actually are a group that started in South Florida, so you'll certainly be able to find some Spanish-speaking bloggers there.
There you go, Jose.
Yep.
The Blogger Union.
Blogger Union, brand new group.
So Jeff was just saying he uses direct. I couldn't read all of it, Jeff, because it goes by so fast. But he was saying that social media is a great way to collect qualified contacts. It really is, but a lot of that, again, has to do with your content. You have to drive them there in order for them to be a contact. And so if you don't have that original content, or you aren't setting yourself apart and really speaking your voice to people, that's another thing too. Authenticity, I think, is so important. One of the reasons why we were talking about Facebook Live, it's one and done, it's over. I love Bess, I'll give her a hug, and then I'm not going to think about this anymore. I'm not editing it. And people can feel it and see it. They can see that we have a great rapport, and that she's being 100% honest. sometimes when you're trying to look stuff up online, it's very difficult to see. So you really do have to do your research on people. You really have to find the one that's right for you.
Yeah, and also it's great for businesses location-wise. So I have a lot of businesses that say, oh, I want a blogger that can, reach 1 million people. And I said, how many people live in Orlando? Your business is here in Orlando.
Right.
You don't care if they have followers in California because they're probably not going to walk in your brick and mortar store.
Correct.
So let's instead not worry about the following, how large it is. Let's look for a blogger that really has a great tribe, a great community of engaged people that live right here and might act upon that and walk in your store.
Right.
So one of my best tips on Twitter and on Instagram, if you are, when I look to follow people on Twitter, I always look at where they're located. I'm interested in people here in Florida. So don't put worldwide. You're not worldwide.
Right.
Where are you living? So make sure you put your location.
Yeah, if your business, especially if your business is brick and mortar, you really have to be centric to your area. Unless you do have this giant delivery service, and then. But I find on Twitter, what I've recently found is the more. Do you talk about hashtags? Are you a hashtag fan?
I'm not a hashtag fan on Twitter, but on
that's right.
Instagram.
And Instagram. It gets me followers all the time, and I look at every single one. I make sure that it's. I mean, if it's not Nadia, I'll think of another name. Lucille in Russia, and I'm probably not going to want to continue that or follow back. But I do look at people and their followers and their content just to say, all right, is this somebody I want to engage in or with? And what is it going to do for me?
Yeah, we teach what we call a personal follow policy. So you are a real person even if you're a business. So you need to develop what we call a personal follow policy. Who are you going to follow on Twitter? Of course, you can follow thousands of people, but how many of those are actually going to serve you? So as you have your Twitter downline going, what do you want to see? You want to see people that are probably related to your business, that are talking about your business,
Correct.
Industry leaders in your business, because that gives you good content to retweet to your followers. You also want to have on there things that you're personally interested in. So it's an interesting social media platform for you to be on. So for Florida Swim Network, our personal follow policy was we wanted swim teams or swimmers or swim coaches that lived in the state of Florida. We wanted industry leaders, Bob Bowman, Michael Phelps swim coach. We followed Olympians. We followed Tier, Speedo. And if you fell outside that, if you were, Will's Pub, I love Will's Pub, but I'm probably not going to follow you from Florida Swim Network simply because you're not going to add to our industry on there. So definitely take time to develop your personal follow policy.
All right, so we're going to share all of Bess's contact information when we share the video. When we share the show. I've got video on the brain. We'll give you how to reach her, give you information about the conference on September 29th, and you're limited to 300, so you want to get in on that sooner than later because that's only a month away if you can believe it. So any parting words of wisdom for that? Anything that your tips have been great today, very engaging. I love it. Because this is something I think all of us want. Even though I do the show, I learn every day. Like she taught me 2 things today before we went live, and I can't wait to look them up and have somebody help me with those that are going to improve my business and improve what I'm trying to accomplish. And that's really what blogging does for people. So any parting words of wisdom for them?
Well, the first one is just remember that social media is social. If you're using Twitter or Instagram as a billboard, you're not doing it right. If somebody comments, you need to comment back to them. Yep. Engage in it. It's social. My son the other day posted, he's of legal drinking age, but he posted a beer by Sierra Nevada on Instagram and tagged Hazy Days. And he saw me this morning, he said, Mom, Sierra Nevada, they talk back to me. He was so excited. So definitely engage, be a real person on there. That's my first parting word. The second one is be a source of positivity. There's enough negativity out there. Save your rants for your private time. And then the third one is don't be afraid to try new things. If you go live and you don't have any viewers, that's okay. Because you know what? You're going to have replay views.
Right.
And so it's okay. Try something. We've tried a zillion different things. We had a silent disco as one of our opening keynotes at FL BlogCon one year.
A silent disco?
Yeah. So we had a group of podcasters that recorded a podcast with all sorts of social media information. Everybody put their earbuds in, pressed play at the same time, and it was crazy. because it was totally silent and people were doing stuff that they had to do on the podcast.
Wow, that's cool.
It was something different. We'll never do it again. 'Cause it
Right?
wasn't
But
a
you
great
tried it.
success.
But you tried it. That's the thing. That's what I agree with you 100%. You have to get out and try new things. Stop just standing on the sidelines and hoping by osmosis it's all going to happen to you. You want to jump in. This is the time. I don't know if there's any other time in your life. Do it. That's what we try to talk about on the show all the time. And if you've been interested in blogging or vlogging or whatever it is, reach out to Bess. Reach out to thebloggerunion.com if you want to find someone. But we're going to share all her information. Please reach out to her and consider going to the conference because I think that's absolutely amazing.
Yep, we'd
All right.
love to have you there. The internet's big enough for all of us, so come aboard.
I love it. All right, you've been a joy. Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having me.
It was so good. I'm fascinated. All right, we're going to say bye to Facebook Live first. We love you guys. I'll see you back here at 3 o'clock. Mwah.